Guys, we're back in the game. So let me switch to so first let's just have a quick look at some of the things that I want to eventually use for the build. So we're looking at, particularly for this tank build, so we're gonna do even both tank and DPS build. Actually the DPS would be for PvP, but actually we're not gonna have access right now to decent accessories, not the PvP accessories, but we're gonna use the general gear for PvE. So it's not gonna be meta build. You're gonna have like weak points, but obviously this is what we got now. So I'm gonna try to do the best we can with the current stuff. So my idea behind this build, and I'm gonna show you after that on quest log GG, is to use a full shock commander. Why I want to use full shock commander? Because now people are doing this mix of two different sets. So they would go for Imperator. So that's Imperator set is the field general. That's what it is. So they use two of these to get the 150 heavy attack chance, and they use at least two shock commanders for the damage reduction, which is all good. But honestly, I don't feel like it's authentic and intuitive to just use so many mix of sets. I really don't like it. Like, I understand it's not the meta, but to me, I just like to make things the way they're supposed to be, like team-based things, right? So obviously we don't have to use for the full set, we don't have to use 5-piece, we just use any combination of the 4. For that purpose, I'm going to put on a field general helmet, because actually it gives us HP on the item itself, and you can get a trait with HP, so that's a huge amount of HP just from the helmet. And if you actually put, I don't even have it, but if you actually put the shock commander helm, it doesn't give you those things. It's actually a bit more offensive, to be honest. I can't really see it right now. If I can just click on something, if we just click like that and maybe just click on it, right there it is. So basically it gives you, how you can really check the I wonder if there's any way to actually see the item. Not really. I mean, yeah, you can check it here anyway. Yeah. So if I just show you, so we can get 5 strength and cooldown speed, which is good, but compared to this one, it gives you 3 perception. So we lose 2 stat points from that, but we actually gain a lot of HP. So kind of like making up for that, and we lose the cooldown speed on this one, and we get stun chance. So that's not exactly the best thing, but actually it helps for PvP, and we can use that for both PvE and PvP. And I was just looking at all the other pieces, and it doesn't really make sense to remove any of the other ones, because these are giving us, so the range is, we don't need the range, and the crit chance is actually basically the only purpose I put field general is because of the HP. So have a look at these the shock commander gauntlets. If you just put on something else, right? Like these, for instance, the Infernal Herald gives you both strength and dexterity, so the total stat is 7. Bind resistance is really not super important, but it's okay. However, this one is even better for DPS because it gives us both range. The dexterity is the same, and we get crit chance. However, the Infernal Herald ones don't have HP. Like all the other pieces that I'm looking at, they all have HP traits, but we're gonna check that on the builder. The weapon would be Chernobog Blade, because I already have it, obviously, and that is upgrades from Carnix anyway. So the only like major difference that's actually for tank, even though Carnix is pretty decent for tank, is the damage reduction. All the other stats of Carnix are perfect for tank. Like, you don't have anything that gives you 1700 HP and 10 strength, which is perfect. However, the base stats are super low. But Chernobog is overall just obviously upgrade. The damage is about 10% higher, the base damage, so it's not a huge difference, but it's okay. Shield block is the same. Attack speed is just a little bit slower, but that's fine. And damage reduction is actually a bit more as well. Actually, 14 points is not that small. Now we lose 3 points, 3 stat points, right? So we get 7 dexterity instead of 10 strength, so that's 3 loss. We lose the humanoid bonus damage, which is not super important, generally speaking. And we lose the HP, but we gain critical hit chance. And it's not too bad to get 154. So the trade-off here is the passive, which is, it's actually generally for PvP. It would be okay for PvP. In PvE, not so much, but it's okay, I guess. A little bit of CC and soft CC, it's fine. For Greatsword, we don't actually have anything better, like anything special. We're gonna use the same provoke, well, the Fury Warblade for the DPS purposes, and then the provoking one will stay for tanking, which is actually probably the best one for tank anyway, because it gives you, again, a lot of HP and some strength as well. So with that being said, we're gonna go back to the build and just check out some things. So let us get this thing going. So there it is. Okay. So this is the current one in progress, but I didn't like finish it, obviously. Even the runes are not here, so we're not gonna talk about that. That's the older build that I made video about. We're gonna look at these two. They're maxed out. I just put on everything on there, so just we can see the theoretical maximum we can get. So here, that was supposed to be for PvP, like I said. Basically using the same items, because this is what I got right now. I just need to upgrade some of these. The accessories are basically the same. So this is the part where it doesn't, all of these should be changed for PvP, but it's gonna take some time to get them on. And personally, I have no idea how they would behave. And I think my game actually disconnected as well. So we're gonna get back to the game. Just a second. That's fine, it's no big deal. So basically, like I said, we're gonna use Chernobog Blades and the Fury Warblade. Gamble the Fury General, Forsaken Ember, which we already have, which is good. And 4 pieces of Shock Commander. So we got basically these I chose these because of some damage reduction and stat points, and they're good enough anyway. And the same accessories. So let's put on the game again. There it is. So the stats distribution is based on runes as well, because the runes you can get combinations give you stats as well. I put as much strength as possible in order to get the 60 threshold. And in the others that I cannot, I just put as much HP and damage reduction as we can, obviously. This one that's the best thing we can get, attack speed. The weapons, we go with strength and critical damage reduction, and then this one is the same. The actual runes, again, HP as much as we can. Get back to this. Okay, well, I'm gonna have to wait for this one. That is so odd, man. Okay, so right, that's weird, man. Okay, there it is. So yeah, skill damage boost, skill damage resistance, and max HP. We go this as much as we can. This one here's some collision resistance. Obviously, we don't have from the accessories. We can put it as runes. Melee hit chance. That's the best thing we got here. Pretty much same stuff here. Heavy attack chance. This is the one we got for the bracelet. pretty much again critical hit chance, max HP, collision resistance. On any of them, if I can, I put max HP. Other things would be either collision resistance or skill damage resistance, and then critical hit chance and heavy attack chance, or just damage boost if you have skill damage boost. Right? Why I didn't put just regular hit chance? You see, it's only 800, right? So I watched the video, and you know that's questionable. Some people may say it's a whole different story, but I saw that generally speaking, you don't need to go much higher because the people that use evasion builds, you're still gonna miss against them, even if you go as high as possible. And for this base, it's enough to go against any others that don't use evasion builds. So you're missing a lot of good stats for hit chance that is not really gonna make a huge difference for you. That's why I just focus on HP, and we get heavy attack chance, crit chance. So this one, for instance, you see it has hit chance. I removed the hit chance on this one. I would remove it and put on stun chance because we use a lot of stuns. That's a crit chance actually. The hit chance is 955. So my bad. It's actually even better anyway. Yeah, we get the stun chance because we use a lot of stuns, especially for PvP. And this is the stats we can get with this setup. 60 strength for as much HP as possible. Dexterity is just above 50 anyway. We got nothing better to put on, so that's for the movement speed as well. And perception, again, don't want to go crazy. The range is not exactly so great for us, but the buff duration is fine. So my best priority here, my top priority, was to get as much HP as possible and as much damage reduction as possible. Also, the shield block chance. And of course, if you have a Nirma sword, it's even better because the highest block chance. It's 27%, so you get like 8% more. And you're going to be above 50. You're going to be 53%, which is great. Now we're just below anyway. But it's still good. And that's passive, right? You're going to have that all the time. And when you use some skills, like for instance, we're looking at this one, you would go with counter barrier, which gives you 34% block for 6 seconds. So you're looking at close to 80%, I think, when you use that. And this is gonna, why I want to do this is because you're gonna proc whenever you block, you're gonna proc damage to the target based on your damage reduction. As you can see, it says 250% of your damage reduction to the attacker. And as far as I'm concerned, this is every single time you block, right? And that's a passive block. You don't. It's not like the shoot tactics when you actually have to like actively use it when you make a perfect block. That's actually just passive. So anytime in those 6 seconds. So if you time it properly, I did a small test, but if you time it properly, your opponent will basically heal themselves. So this is perfect. This works perfect for against any classes that do a lot of attacks, right? So like dagger, crossbow. Not sure there's like maybe, I'm not sure about spear. So it's not too many, but any of them that do a lot of attacks. Basically, even the greatsword build can also do somewhat a lot of quick attacks in succession. Like for instance, the Valiant Bro. They'll probably never use, for instance, tornado spinning. Not gonna use that, but generally speaking, that's actually not super gap. That's 250% of damage reduction. So we can do the calculation right here. So we stated that we have our damage reduction is right here, 133. Now you could probably go a bit higher as well, but I think that's a good base. Right now on my current build, I have like about 80-ish. So if you get 133, and actually whenever we use actively, once we use this one, you can just combine them really, and that's what's going to happen when you do that, and you successfully defend against. I think it's against any attack. Oh, it's against fear attack. So it's questionable, but if you can manage to do this, Let me see. Right, so on defending against Fury attack within 0.5 seconds, increase damage reduction by 141 for 6 seconds. So basically, if you can successfully do this, 141 plus your passive 133, check this out. It's 133. Let me just put this on here or something. Yeah. We're looking at 274. That's going to be for 6 seconds. I mean, it's always 6 seconds anyway, because the counter battery is 6 seconds. And shield technique is 6 seconds as well, if it's Fury attack, obviously. If you can actually defend that. So it's a bit unpredictable in PvP. It's much more difficult to actually make it. But 274. And then any attack against you will do 250% of that damage reduction. It's not your damage, not the base damage, it's the damage reduction. And that's really cool. It makes sense. And you will block a lot of the attacks because you'd already have about 80% block chance because of the full shock commander set. And if you can put Nirma's sword, it's even better, right? But the damage reduction is a bit less on Nirma. The highest damage reduction is, I think it's Belandir sword, but that's like crazy expensive anyway. So yeah, 34. So basically 274 multiplied by 2.5, and you cannot crit. Okay, so 685 damage per hit back to the attacker, right, for 6 seconds. And so this is not affected by the crit hit chance or heavy attack chance. So it's gonna be flat 685. Of course, they could reduce some of that, as far as I'm concerned, but that's pretty decent. Consider against any dagger or crossbow, but they usually dagger and crossbow at the same time. They do shitloads of attacks in just a couple of seconds. So they're basically going to kill themselves. And the damage they will do is a lot of attacks, but low damage attacks. So they're practically going to do close to no damage to you because of your overall, let's say you have damage reductions that will reduce the damage. Then you have the defense a lot, like it's huge, ranged and melee, right? And that's exactly crossbow and dagger. The magic one, obviously, that's the weak point. Like any class would have counter, so the magic defense is still okay, but it's way less than the others. Damage reduction will apply to everything, and then you also have, well, we don't have any evasion here, and no magic endurance as well. So if they hit us, they will crit. So keep that in mind. We got melee, but I decided to push a bit more on range endurance because that's the bigger threat usually. So basically, since this is the probably one of the most used classes for PvP and DPS anyway, that's crossbow and dagger. Although they're a bit squishy, but you basically counter them easily. They'll just kill themselves trying to hit you. So another thing that you have, also check the HP, by the way. That's 25.5k HP without any buffs. That's just passive HP. You also have right here skill damage resistance. Now this is a bit funny thing. I don't know how exactly this works. So it says first decrease damage taken from skills, right? But then it says for every 10 points, chance increases by about 1%. So chance to reduce the damage. Is that what it is? Because it sounds a bit weird. So basically you would have 36% chance to reduce the damage, but reduce it by how much? That's the interesting part. So really maybe you should watch a video about that later, but anyway, people are stacking this up, so yeah, we put that on as well. The general resistance things are not huge. Well, those are the stun things. This is the resistance. We have a little bit of collision resistance and stun resistance. Those are the most common things you fight against in PvP, but we really didn't stack much of these. And the actual chances, well, the only things we do are collision and weaken, and they're not much higher than the base ones. Stun chance is actually pretty decent for us. And we increase the stun chance with a couple of other things. For instance, actually that's heavy attack. Things apply additional heavy attack for us when we stun. So we want to stun as much as possible. Obviously that's not huge, And the points here I would say increased chance to stun targets based, like, again, relative to their stun resistance, right? So it's 10 points of difference, chance increased by 4% roughly, which to me it's a bit crazy because imagine my average stun resistance is about 200, right? So let's assume somebody stacks a bit more, they go to like 250, maybe even 300. We got 600, okay? For every 10 points, that's 4% more, which means for 40 points of difference, we'll get 16%. Of course, it says the difference increases, efficiency decreases, right? So the more you go, the lower percentage. But we don't have any graph here to actually have like kind of like idea how much we actually get. So it's not going to stay on 4% for every 10 points, as long as, like, if you go much higher than that, right? So if you go like we have difference of like 300 points. Let's assume that they have 300 stun resistance, we have 600 stun chance. Those 300 points are not going to be all effective like 4% per 10 points, because that's ridiculous. You'd get way more than 100% stun chance. So every stun you have, we always do it. No, so it's going to have diminishing returns, but we don't know how much. Either way, I think that's an okay value. And we would use I have no idea why we put on this one. I don't actually have a PvP build here. So this single target DPS PvE experiment, right? So we would think this is just for actually for bosses. So I have to make completely different build just for PvP. There is another problem with the building thing, and I'll probably put it on some suggestion list. It's your masters, right? So we put on masters that are actually most relevant for PvE. And we would go right here, obviously. So these are like, you got things that are actually most relevant for PvE, right? Like you get boss damage, damage reduction for bosses, things like that. You don't need that for PvP. However, at the current stage of the game, we don't have a decent way to respect masteries like everything else. For instance, we can just on the fly, just with one click, we can swap the whole gear setup, the skills, and your stat distribution, which makes it really decent when you're doing PvP and PvE content, and you'll be swapping that like almost every day if you're doing everything in the game. The problem is you cannot do that with weapon mastery. So the only way to do that is manually. You can't really set it up, and it's actually going to cost a lot of solent right now. Even if you have an automatic system to change that, it actually costs a lot. So in my mind, they should remove all that and have it have a much better, easy way to swap masteries based on your build. Even if it would cost solent, let's just say it costs the first time you do it. Let's say you just reset once you set up the new spec, and then it stays like that, and then you just swap every single time without any additional costs or having to actually change those things, because right now it's just very annoying. So this is okay for PvE, but definitely not so good for PvP. For PvP here, you have good stuff like hit chance, collision chance, damage reduction is always good. We can get extra from here, weaken chance, collision resistance, obviously, and cooldown speed. This is, some of these are okay for PvE, but some of these are much better for PvP. And here, this one, again, you have some good things for both, but the main things here are the main stats here, and the three major nodes are basically useless for PvP. You have boss endurance, boss damage reduction, and boss bonus damage. The top one is also okay for just about anything, really. So this is one problem. And then with Greatsword, it's pretty much the same. Look at these here. You have, so I think this one is good for everything. They're basically good. Both of them are good for everything, but you may need things like, for instance, here you have, so this is not as bad, but obviously we want to use as much magic defense as possible for PvP. Cooldown speed is great. Bind resistance, again, you really don't need that in PvE, but for PvP is good. Skill damage resistance also good, and movement speed, right? For these here, this is okay. Stun chance, stun duration, and cooldown speed. Again, more stun chance here. Then this one here, we could actually change some of these to get some of these on top, right? So the Greatsword is not that bad, right? But the sword, this is pretty bad for us versus this one, right? But that's what it is right now. Eventually they may change some of those things. So that's with this build. Eventually I'm gonna make a different video about that, to actually make the build once I have it done, because I don't have everything ready. It's just a matter of grind, really. We have most of the items. The only thing I'm missing, I think, is either the gauntlets or the actual boots, and then I just need to upgrade them. But I need to upgrade all the other things as well. They're not maxed out. So the general price for this build, you check here, is around 16,000 Lucent. That's for EU server and European server. That's like average price, obviously. And since I have a lot of those things, the price for me is going to be way less, obviously. I have most of the items, and some of them are like halfway through ready. So it's going to cost a few thousand Lucents just to finish it up. And the rest is just materials that we need to just farm, like Solent for upgrades and other materials to upgrade the actual items. Then I didn't pick up any food. You can pick different types of food, obviously depending on the situation and the content you're doing, because you can actually do this for both PvP and PvE. Now for PvP it's not going to be optimal, but you can still do it. In PvE, it's just a DPS build, right? This is not the best for tank. It says true tank PvP here because of the damage reduction and the block chance. Like, this is the cool stuff here. But obviously the next build is actually the proper tank build for PvE. So we're gonna get to this one. So here, as you can see, the stats are off the roof. Like, this is very similar build, as you can see. The only thing I change here is the 2 weapons. But we keep all these items again because I want to get the maximum block chance and the damage reduction. So we lose some damage reduction because we changed Chernobog. So that's the only difference here. And it's 119. That's still more than the current build I have. The runes are pretty much the same runes, to be honest. When I look at them, like the same stat combination, the same synergy. It feels like the best thing for my setup. The only change here, actually no, it's the same. It's just strength. So I have no idea why this is just 2 points above. There may be something related to the actual weapon, for instance, because these are 2 base weapons here, as you can see. The first epics you get from dungeons. And this is 1 weapon that's actually from a field boss. So I'm assuming that this increases your overall score, but it's really just insignificant difference. Just 2 points. The price for this build is about 15,000, so kind of like the same thing. And we have most things, so that's good. The stats are off the roof because a lot of these items give you stat points, and you're looking at 70 strength easily. 30 dexterity you get, so we don't get the bonus damage here, but it's a tank build, so we don't care about that too much. We get 100 crit chance, nothing on wisdom again. Perception is 32 because we have just a bit extra, and for this purpose it's just a hit chance. We couldn't get above the duration, obviously, it's too much. You can actually redistribute these 2 points to any of these stats. It's not going to make major difference. That's going to be a bit more crit chance and attack speed. It's just a bit more on hit chance and buff duration, and that's fortitude just for more defense. We even managed to put 20 points in fortitude, so we get additional 100 endurance. The difference in stat comes from Carnix. Once again, we said it gives you just more points and a lot of HP, and Magna Provoking Roll Rate is less damage, less base damage. Both of these weapons have less base damage than the previous build. But this gives you even more HP and also a bit of strength. So we can easily get to 70 strength, which is giving us the maximum defense and HP possible. Of course, you could go above 70 if you want. I think the maximum is 100, but you don't get any thresholds. So these are a bit more higher priority. So we go to just checking out the stats here, and later we're going to check the skills, what skills you can use. So the block chance is the same. Nothing changes here. The crit chance obviously goes down because we have way less dexterity and the weapons are different, so yeah. But we don't care about that too much. The heavy attack chance is also not very high as well. Melee hit chance is, well, we can change some of these. Well, this is just full HP, yeah. This is again the lowest hit chance, so that's fine anyway. Damage reduction is a bit less, like you said. So the defense here, as you can see, a bit more in magic defense. I think most of these things come from fortitude, but I cannot guarantee you that. Definitely endurance is coming from fortitude, but yeah. So a bit more magic defense. Our range defense, I think, is also a bit more. Yep, and melee defense, right? So everything is just bumped up a bit more, except damage reduction, right? Evasion, we don't care about that too much. So endurance is even more than before because of fortitude. So you get 840 melee endurance, 1000 range endurance, which is crazy good for now, and even a little bit magic endurance. So you might consider that even in PvP. However, your damage is going to be ridiculously low. Max HP here is absurd. That is 30,600. Oh, just 1 second. Owen. So back on track. We actually have a field boss right now, so I might just hop in and then continue with this. I'll do a quick one and then we're back on the builds. If we don't crash again, like disconnect. So check it out. Let's see what kind of boss we have today. This time we got Minazorok. It's not a low level one, but most of these things are not decent for us. It's okay, but mostly for PvP, for PvE DPS builds, to be honest. Excavator is great for the one, but actually for us, because we're gonna run the Chernobog blade, we can get some trade from here on even the Field General helmet as well. So I'm gonna hop on for this one. It's like super easy. It's only gonna take a couple minutes. So it's gonna come in a couple of minutes actually. Basically just go over there. Usually what I do, if I come a bit too early, I'm just gonna pick up some gathering notes or whatever. It is a bit too early as well, but I put a bit extra time before that because sometimes I'm a bit busier and I don't have enough time to do it if I just have 5 minutes up front. This guy is extremely fast, man. It's ridiculous. What the fuck, man? Wow, that's fucking crazy. So for this build, I would go with this one. I'm not quite sure that this soul boss build is like the best right now, but it's okay. Yeah, I'm just gonna chill here, like whatever. You could actually die in here. Can we get some safer spot with drag minions? We don't have a hook. Right, so a lot of people are criticizing this build. This is the solo boss build that I have right now. It's the one that is not the most optimal, obviously. This is okay for DPS. It's not fully traded either. So people criticize that and say that it's not. Should go here actually. Yep. So wait, this one. Yeah, okay. So yeah, people just criticize this one for not being the best possible build, and I can show you the skill set right here. It's very similar to what I used before that. So we use only solo boss things, like not like solo target things. We don't use anything that's like based on multiple targets around us. And I only use it for Gate of Infinity or Feared Bosses. So there's Gate of Infinity. And yeah, basically, people are criticizing it, but I think this is a decent score based on, for instance, some of these have mechanics, so it's also skill-based things. But most of the people, for instance, look at my rank. I'm rank 5 on this one. That's the previous one with the rock guy. Anybody who has a Dentus Greatsword, so I don't have it, but anybody with a Dentus would have much easier time against this one because you have constructs bonus damage. And like you can see all these people, like number 4 has a Dentus and Carnix. Number 3 also Dentus and Chernobog as well, which is on top of that. Number 2 has a Dentus and Nirma, so it's like equally good to the other one. And number 1 is a Dentus and Carnix, right? So I guess the sword doesn't make a huge difference. Then you see the people below me, like you see just a couple of seconds below, but then this guy also running a Dentus. This guy is also with Dentus. So basically, this one is hidden. 10th place, that's about 13 seconds slower than me. This guy is doing Duke Magna. Okay, so this guy has, well, Chernobog. So he still has something better than mine. The hit chance here, once again, you see, not so important for us. Like 20 below, right? That's like 20 seconds slower. Yeah, they use similar things like me. So basically this build is not that bad considering that I managed to get 5th place without a Dentus. Then looking at this one, my score is not as good, obviously. I have 155 because this one has like phasing, and if you're fast enough, you can actually skip a couple of the phases, and that's a huge speed boost. But yeah, I got 155. The top people, obviously this guy has 36 seconds. He skipped a lot of the phases. He do massive damage, and he had a Dentus again. Like a Dentus is changing the game for everybody basically. 110. Nirma and a Dentus. Let's see on 15. So anybody below me, let's say somebody like 2, that's about 13 seconds or something. So 20 rank. Again running a Dentus. Rank 30 is 2 minutes and 30 seconds. So that's funny because that's a whole different setup, but yeah. Duke Magna and a Spear. Say 31. A Dentus and Carnix. So this guy must be undergeared on the traits because that's huge difference. That's like about 35, 40 seconds, right? I mean, 45 seconds actually, yeah. So I don't know if this build is that bad. It does seem a bit good to me. Since you get these this rank. So we should get this guy in about 2 minutes. The time inside the game sometimes is glitched out a little bit. And it doesn't update immediately, but yeah, it's 58, so yeah. Got just a few more minutes. Oh, we got a mini boss, but somebody's gonna take it anyway. And the blind shape, I think it goes around this time every single day. When it's this boss, I saw it yesterday at the same time here. The frame drops are just insane. You need really good CPU for this game. If you're also streaming and recording, so yeah. Anytime now. Pretty much done with most of those things, so that's fine. So there we go. Usually my strategy here, I don't know if other people do it, but I just wait to see which one is gonna get filled first, and I go to the last one that gets filled up. Because personally, I would see each boss has its own loot table, and obviously the less people you got, the higher chance you have to get something, right? So obviously most people, like, by default they just go to the middle one. It's like the easiest one. You don't think too much. Let's see, 3 and 1. Not many people are doing it, actually. And you have like 5 minutes, so no worries about that. Oh, there we go. So 3 got busy before 1. So probably the 1 have the least amount of people. So you have way more time, so let's just wait and see. More people are coming as well, so that's good. Okay, we got one guildmate that already went to 1. And I'm assuming 1 is gonna stay like that. Let's check it out. Yeah, I'm gonna go to 1. Fine. So, you wait like 3 minutes. I'm gonna chill around here. So I wanted to check something out that sounds interesting, looks interesting. It's one weapon particularly. Now it's gonna take ages till we get this sword. Obviously, it's somewhat the best sword for tanks specifically because of the HP. You need a lot of HP to make the most of this effect, and you get the highest possible base damage with this weapon because if you're at 20k HP, I think this is the hard cap. Above 20k current HP, you get nothing. So maximum is 60 damage. 3 per 1000 HP. So obviously that's 20,000 current HP. You're gonna get 60 damage. So that's both min and max damage. So you're looking at 109, almost 190 base damage, and around 280, almost 280 max damage, which is awesome, right? But this is expensive and rare to get. So the second best thing, well, it does seem like the second best thing, would be the Junibot Warblade. So here's my idea behind this one. It's way cheaper, as you can see, 1800, the lowest price, so you can get that easily. However, stat-wise, it has the lowest min damage from all of them. So let's see, this is 128. The current Beauty Warblade is actually around 112, so it's above 100 again, but this one gets as much as 84. This is the highest one you get on the min damage. However, the maximum damage is the highest. Even a Dentus with the full buff doesn't get that high. I think it goes to like 276. This one is 200. Well, it's actually the same one, right? 276. So if you're not a tank, it may seem that this weapon is way better. It actually may seem that this weapon is perfect for dagger builds because dagger has a lot of crit chance, so you actually have a good amount of chance to get the max damage, right? So this is, it seems like a PvP, but you can also use it in PvE. And more procs on shock and stun duration, for instance. So this looks amazing, by the way. It's perception, I get shitloads of stun chance. So that's like the second best thing. Obviously not the perfect one for tank in PvE, but for PvP, especially DPS PvP, like with daggers, this looks amazing, by the way. So any of these two, depending on what you need, and obviously your position, because This is only below 2000 Lucius. A lot of people can easily get this one. Looking at the others, obviously, like this one is somewhat okay, like similar to mine. Get dexterity and collision chance. A lot of collision chance, by the way, so that's not super bad. Mordecai is also decent base damage, but the stats are all over the place. You got hit chance, you got stun chance, wisdom. It's a bit crazy. That's why it's so cheap as well. This one is cheap as well. The heroic one, the damage is also okay. You get the highest stun chance from all the weapons. This one's 242. So it's 329 and HP as well, but no stats. There's the boss actually. Get on him and that's it. Our attacks are just super slow. I think it has something to do with the sword. The moment I put the Fury Warblade, my attacks feel way slower. We didn't. Okay, it's fine. And no drop once again, that's a normal thing. Oh boy, he got a few general. He made, okay, check this out. No luck here either. And that's all just fine. Okay. So, just leave outside of this one. So let's just get back to this area. Oh shit, we get attacked by these fuckers. Just teleport back real quick. I mean, that's crazy, man. But technically, this one has melee evasion, and I really don't need melee evasion on my build, so I don't want to bother with this. Yeah, it's actually the helmet we need for the build, but I already have it, and this trait is just useless for us, so it's no point. You just extract it, or, you know, just make money out of that, so whatever. Fine. If it was decent trade, I would have asked for it. In our guild, this is the guild, the build distribution. But it's fine. The current one I have is with ranged and mid endurance. I'm just not sure if this was exactly what we needed, by the way. So let's go back to the... Get out of here, actually. I'll go back around here so we have somewhat a bit better frames. Anyway. So going back to the build, right? So we're looking for actually... we remove the mid endurance to get cooldown speed, which is super good for being more DPS oriented. And the mid endurance we already have. We already stated that the range DPS is a higher threat. We use the same setup for both builds anyway. So we just need to respect anyway. So we're back on this one. We got over 30,000 HP. That's what we stated, obviously. Unbuffed. So if you go in a dungeon, I think you get 10% extra random dungeon bonus. So we're looking at almost 34,000 HP just for random queuing in a dungeon, which is ridiculous. And why I said tank PVE immortal, that's the name. Because on the skills, I'm gonna get back to this, by the way, on the skills right here, use the regular tank build. We can change that as well according to some things, but the regular one would use Immortal Pride, and I combine this with Devoted Sanctuary, like pretty much the same build that I made a couple weeks ago. The reason for this is, this is not maxed out, by the way. I set him up on lower levels for some reason. I don't know why, actually. This is so odd. I don't have this maxed out, by the way. Yeah, okay. Maybe that's why we had lower stats. All right, my bad. Okay, so when you combine all these things together, like you could also drop Towered Bastion. Oh, actually, I forgot about this. That's crazy. You know, my calculation is wrong. You can use this in PvP as well. So we're gonna get back to that actually. That's more damage reduction. Okay. But for the tank PvE experience, when you use this one, like I mentioned before, you technically reduce the boss damage for a couple of seconds by over like 21%, I think, total, because you transfer 70% of the damage. But because of the attributes, you check the spec, you actually reduce the damage that you transfer. So you take 70%, but I think it has to be let me see, which one was it? Okay, so basically, we take 40%, but we increase the effectiveness, so we take additional 30% transfer damage, so we actually take 70% of the damage, and then we only take 70% of that damage to us, so we reduce the damage we take by 30%. So that is super good thing. And of course, if you're about to get the massive AoE, and you want to make sure that you stay alive, that's why you want to use Immortal Pride with combination of Blood Devotion. So you get the hair regen is just extra because we got nothing better to put them on. The most important thing is right here. So based on your max HP, not the current one, but the max HP, you can get additional magic melee range defense by additional 5% of your max HP, which translates to maximum 30,000 HP. You'd get 1,500 whole defense. So that means you'd get like over 4,000 melee and range, and magic should be around 3,500 or something. That's the defense, not endurance. So you really tanky. And obviously the passive one on top of that will give you 30% HP for 6 seconds. Which means since you already have 30,000 and inside a dungeon, most likely you'll be using that in dungeons anyway, you'll be close to 34,000. So 30%, just say, let's just put it like that to be more specific. 30,665. Obviously, like, it could have some small difference based on your rune level and so on, but that's the maximum, right? Multiply by, I think it's 10%. So 1.1 should be 10% HP boost and I think damage boost inside dungeon if you do a random queue. So you'd be 33.7. And now you add the 30%. It's only for 6 seconds, but you can use it like every 1 minute or less because of the cooldown. It's not too bad. It's like just to protect yourself from big attacks immediately, right? 33 multiplied by 1.3. So you're looking at 43.8. So that's almost 44,000 HP. Of course, just for 6 seconds. And on top of that, you're going to get, so look at the defense here, right here. So 1,500. Yeah, you're looking at almost 4K for this one. It's going to be 4.2K, and that's going to be like 3.5 or something. So that's ridiculous. Yeah, and if you just consider using something like that in PvP, yeah, you're not going to evade attacks, but when they attack you, again, they'll do nothing for those 6 seconds. So that is huge. And what else we got here? Actually, let me just double check. That's one of the things. Obviously, you got these things like more passives that happen throughout the course of the encounter. So this could further increase your stuff. For instance, the Indomitable Armor has 25% chance to increase your defense for just 2 seconds and stack up to 3 times whenever you take damage, right? So it's like every 4th attack on you has will increase your defense. And this could stack up 3 times, so in total you get over 1,000 defense for everything. Again, especially great for against multiple attacks at once, like any class that does a lot of attacks in short time. You got this one, but that's like for evasion, but you can actually use it for when you also provoke targets, right? So you have the base the base evasion you increase whenever you have proximity, right? If the enemy is further away, like ranged targets, you're gonna increase up to 300 ranged and magic evasion, which is great actually, specifically against um, the highest DPS players. Of course, that's PvE, so it's just to keep you alive in dungeons as well against ranged ones, but you can use it in PvP definitely. And you have this one for multiple targets, I think. Yeah, that's the one. So based on range, the more you increase the level, it only increases your range, which means higher range, more enemies will be close to you, and you get the maximum of 7 or more targets. You're gonna get 820 defense again. This is also great for large scale PvP. So generally speaking, we couldn't find anything much better for PvE tanking. You could obviously change some of these because at some point it becomes overkill, right? And you can put like heavy attack chance if you want to do a bit more stuns, which we don't have here, so that's based on your setup. I put some to heal yourself and get some mana as well. You got cooldown reduction on collision, but we don't use much collision on this build. And that's probably much better for PvP. However, let's go back to the one because I totally forgot about this. And I don't even know if we used it actually on the PvP build here. We actually use the skill damage boost, which is amplified just for us. If I just check it out, yep, that's amplification just for us. So instead of damage reduction, we get skill damage boost, and we improve just ourselves for like single target PP. So it goes all the way to 144, which is huge for 9 seconds. Now, if we remove these and actually keep the Stalwart Eagle, but remove the Great Fury and becomes the Stalwart Bastion, you're gonna get 144 damage reduction. Just check it out. You see, that's ridiculous. Now, that's a whole different calculation. That's 144. And we said that passive you get 133. When you activate this, now if you activate this and the active shield block, if you go against Fury, it's gonna go crazy. First of all, this is 144 plus 133, that's the passive one, multiplied by 2.5. So this is gonna be your passive damage per attack that you deflect to the enemy. Now, if you manage to actually counter with the shield block, which is not impossible, of course, you're gonna get additional here it's additional 141 damage reduction. So let's just go back to this one. So it's like 277 plus 141. So this is theoretically the highest damage reduction you can get for a short period of time, for about 6 seconds with all the buffs going on. These things give you defense, not damage reduction, so you can't really change much about that. But this is huge enough, and then you multiply that by 2.5. So you're looking at 1045 damage deflected per attack to your opponent. So again, if we're talking about pure DPS, dagger and crossbow, they'll pretty much melt themselves in no time. It's gonna be ridiculous, okay? 1045 damage per attack. And they wouldn't even, as far as I know, they attack so fast that they wouldn't even have time to cancel their attack. Literally, especially the crossbow dagger build, it has, let's say, I don't know, you can do like 20 attacks in a second or maybe more. I mean, I've only played just a little bit, so this is huge. So just imagine that. Obviously, they're going to reduce some of that, but even if they do that, they're not going to have that much HP or defense to reduce it enough to actually react fast enough, right? And obviously, you have this only for 6 seconds, but they'll die much faster than 6 seconds, realistically speaking. That is insane, honestly. Imagine they have like 15k HP, which is somewhere like in the average range for DPS. They do their full combo. Here we got disconnected once again. Oh no, somebody else. Okay, fine. So they wouldn't have enough time to react, and it's only going to take like 2 or 3 seconds max for them to kill themselves. And again, they're not going to do any damage to you because you would probably pop up enough passive and active skill damage reduction and blocks. So yeah, it's going to be ridiculous. I mean, obviously, not every attack is going to be blocked. And now the runes have something. So I can tell you a small secret. We changed that and we can, it's just temporary right now. There is one thing about runes that some DPS classes can take to help them against tanks like this, because this build is just fucking ridiculous. The weak point is again magic, because it has the lowest magic defense and has no magic endurance. But once you put on the active skills and procs, and obviously based on skill, if you're actually good at PvP, even the mage type of builds wouldn't have much chance against you. Obviously, they will have better odds compared to ranged and melee, but ranged is the worst situation, right? We're basically countering any range build. So we're talking about bow and crossbow. Obviously, crossbow is worse because it does way faster attacks, but even longbow is also going to be in a bad situation because we just have a lot of range defense. And one of the meta builds is going to be longbow and staff, so you have ranged and magic. So it's kind of like 50-50. They will have some better odds with the magic damage, but they will do range damage as well, so that's going to be bad for them. In melee, it's going to be like 50-50 there, because you do have decent defense and endurance against melee as well. But then they have a lot of stuns and things like that, so it's like questionable, right? Depending on what kind of build they're running as well. But this is super tanky, ridiculous build. Obviously, this is the DPS build, but we go to the PvE build is even more ridiculous. Obviously, a bit less damage reduction, but still pretty high. So one thing you can do to counter that a little bit, talking about the block chance, because we rely on block chance a lot. The more we block, the more we're gonna deflect. That's why I want to put on the double set, like the 2 effects, for additional 10% shield block. Otherwise, you're gonna be at 35%. It's still good. Once you put on the active counter better, you're gonna get like around 70%, but with this, we go to around close to 80%. So the counter, from what I saw, is, I think, it's actually the synergy effect. It's this one here. So you're locked behind perception. If you want other stat, it's too bad. You can only get perception on this one. Shield block penetration chance. That's 7.5%, which I would assume, to my mind, that's how it would feel. I don't know if this is how it works. We can just double check here if we have it somewhere. It doesn't really say. Yeah, it doesn't really say. I mean, if we change it, maybe it's gonna say temporarily. Check it out. Wait, we have to save it? No, it's right here. Shoot, block penetration chance. Right, so right here. So exactly how I thought it would work. Basically, that's gonna be 7.5% less chance to block. So if you stack, I'm gonna get back to the current one that I want. This one. So if you stack this chance, you get basically that 7.5. So you can do on both weapons. That's 15%. I don't think the others have something like that, to be honest. Nope, right there. Maybe. Oh, actually, you do. The bracelet also gets shield block penetration chance, but 5% only. So you get 20% total. Oh, even more. 7.5. So that's like 27.5. And the other wing also. So you're looking at 35. So that's the thing. You can get 35 percent shield penetration chance. I don't know if it has diminishing returns, so it lowers the effectiveness, it increases. But if it's that much, then you're going way low. Like, it becomes almost useless, right? So you're gonna have 10% when you use the full shock commander. But people actually don't use that, so they'll be 35%. And if you get full shield block penetration runes, you use all those 35%. So only when you use the counter barrier, you're gonna get 34% chance to block. So yeah, if they run specific runes to counter this, then you're not gonna have that much success. But only if they use that, and most people are probably not gonna use those runes. I mean, they could use some of them, but For instance, they would go with cooldown speed or HP. That's what I'm going as well. But you could go with this, right? So you lower your HP or cooldown speed to get specifically against blocking characters. So the chances are most people are not going to run this because that's only effective against basically against sword and shield characters. There are not that many characters that actually use sword and shield anyway, and they don't care about that too much, right? Because you can't really block all the time. Most people would go for HP because that's universal, and cooldown speed is also kind of universal for every single class, even for us. But yeah, this is the situation with this particular build. So with that, I'm gonna finish this stream for today. In probably a couple of weeks, maybe the beginning of next year, I'm going to do a full update as soon as I get enough materials to upgrade it and actually make it work. Try to max out the traits and everything, put the right pieces. And well, the only thing that's not going to be maxed out is probably the masteries because that's a huge grind. But most of the other things, we're going to get close to these stats. And then we can actually test it out and see how it works in action, in action, right? That's just theory right now, but in action, we're going to see. It's going to be different, of course, and we're not going to get the best possible results. That's just theoreticals, right? So yeah, thank you guys for watching. This is going to be the last stream for this year. There might be a couple more videos upcoming in the next weeks, but they're just scheduled, so I might not be around for the holidays. I'm not going to be doing a lot of videos during the holidays, and I'll be back in the beginning of next year. So thank you guys for watching, and have a nice holidays, and see you soon.